The grid dies tomorrow. Truck stop. Shelves empty. What is in your stockpile? Rice, beans, ammo? That is a rookie list. Here is what experienced preppers know that beginners do not. Starvation will not be what breaks you. Your body can handle weeks without food. What destroys most survivors is appetite fatigue. The psychological collapse from eating the same gray slop until your will to live drains out through your taste buds. That is when you die. Not physically, but mentally. I have built a different stockpile. Items I hide. Not because they are illegal, but because they are force multipliers for morale and health. If my neighbors knew what these things actually do, they would be kicking down my door. 11 items. None of them standard, all of them game changers. And number one might become the currency of the new world. Let us start at the bottom. The pressure bomb you can eat. Popcorn kernels. Already laughing? Good. Keep laughing while I explain why this movie snack has the highest volume to storage ratio of any food in existence. 1 cup of kernels becomes 8 cups of hot, fluffy food. A 5-gallon bucket feeds a family for months. Try achieving that ratio with rice or beans. Impossible. Here is the science. Each kernel is a biological pressure vessel, dense starch surrounding water at precisely 13 to 14% moisture. Heat it over a fire and something remarkable happens. The water becomes steam. Pressure builds inside the hull until the structural integrity fails. And that gelatinized starch explodes outward, solidifying instantly in the cooler air into a cloud 40 to 50 times the original size. Why does volume matter when you are starving? Psychology, pure psychology. Your lizard brain, the ancient survival mechanism screaming since the power went out, sees a massive bowl of hot food and finally stops panicking. Your eyes register abundance. Your stomach perceives fullness. The calorie count is modest, sure, but the mental reset is priceless. You feel fed. You feel normal. And here's the backup plan. When your flour runs out, and it will, grind those unpopped kernels into cornmeal. Suddenly, you have got the base for bread, porridge, Johnny cakes, versatility from a snack food, stockpile protocol, 10 libs per person minimum, store in Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers, moisture content must stay locked at 13 to 14%. Too dry and the pressure cannot build. Too wet and you are growing mold. Sealed properly, popcorn outlasts you by decades. While everyone else chokes down their sad, flavorless rations in silence, you will be sitting by the fire with a massive bowl of hot, crunchy comfort food. But comfort food means nothing if you are dead from dehydration. And in a grid-down world, dehydration kills faster than bullets, faster than starvation. Which brings us to something that sounds completely insane until you understand the chemistry. The hospital in a packet, Jell-O powder. Your grandmother's church potluck dessert is my secret medical supply. Before you click away thinking I have lost my mind, hear me out. When society collapses, what actually kills people? Not raiders, not radiation, dysentery, stomach flu, norovirus, the endless gastrointestinal nightmares from drinking questionable water and eating poorly preserved food. Here is the brutal math. When you cannot keep fluids down, when everything you drink comes right back up, dehydration sets in within hours. Your blood thickens, your kidneys struggle, your brain stops working properly right when you need it most. And here is what most people do not understand. Plain water will not save you. When you are losing fluids through vomiting or diarrhea, you are hemorrhaging electrolytes, sodium, potassium, the chemical messengers keeping your heart in rhythm. Drink only water and you dilute what is left, making things worse. It is called hyponatremia, and it kills just as dead as dehydration. You need oral rehydration solution. Hospitals charge $50 for IV bags of the stuff, or you can make it with Jell-O for pocket change. Look at what is actually in that powder. Sugar, gelatin, mix it with water and add a pinch of salt. What you have created mimics medical-grade electrolyte solutions. Sugar and sodium work through co-transport, helping intestines absorb water even when everything else fails. But the gelatin does something else entirely. Gelatin is made from collagen. When digested, it breaks down into amino acids, particularly glycine. Glycine helps repair the gut lining, Medicine for your damaged intestines wrapped in a packet costing 75 cents. The flavor matters too. When you are sick, scared, watching the world fall apart while your body fails, something tasting like strawberry is a psychological anchor. Reminds you of birthday parties, gives you something small to look forward to. Stockpile protocol, 15 boxes minimum. Vacuum seal the powder, humidity turns it into concrete. Kept dry, shelf life exceeds 15 years. While others die of dehydration because they do not understand basic chemistry, you are saving lives with a dessert. Speaking of saving lives, there is an item you throw away every single day that could prevent your skeleton from dissolving. The garbage treasure, eggshells. Every morning across millions of kitchens, people crack eggs and toss the shells into the trash without a second thought. They are throwing away medicine, discarding something pharmacies charge real money for. Eggshells are 95% calcium carbonate, the exact same compound found in pharmacy supplements. Not similar, chemically identical. Molecule for molecule, the same stuff. Post-collapse, where is your calcium coming from? No milk delivery truck, no cheese aisle, no supplement section. Every source you currently rely on vanishes overnight. Your body does not care about the apocalypse. It needs calcium every single day without exception. Calcium keeps muscles contracting, keeps nerves firing, keeps blood clotting when you cut yourself, keeps your heart beating in rhythm. Here is the terrifying part. Without dietary calcium, your body starts mining its only reserve, your bones and teeth. Your skeleton literally dissolves itself to keep your heart functioning. Short term, this works. Long term, you become brittle. Bones fracture from minor impacts. Teeth crack and crumble. And let me tell you about dental problems in a grid-down world. No dentists, no anesthesia, no sterile environment. A simple toothache becomes an abscess. An abscess becomes sepsis. Sepsis becomes a painful, preventable death. One single eggshell contains your entire daily calcium requirement. Process, save shells, rinse, accumulate. Boil 10 minutes to kill salmonella. Bake at 200 degrees until brittle. Grind to fine powder. Store in a jar. Never expires. Calcium carbonate is essentially rock. Half a teaspoon with food. Stomach acid converts it to absorbable calcium chloride. Lifetime supply of supplements from literal garbage. But calcium is just one piece. The human body demands extensive requirements. And there is one macronutrient almost impossible to find after collapse. The one making the difference between surviving and thriving, fat. And fat has a serious problem. Liquid gold that will not betray you. Ever heard of rabbit starvation? Sounds like a joke. It is not. Early American explorers actually died from it. Plenty of meat eating every day. Dead anyway. The problem? They ate only lean meat. Animals like rabbits carrying almost no body fat. Your body cannot survive on protein alone. This is not opinion, it is biochemistry. Without adequate fat, protein metabolism overwhelms your liver and kidneys. Nausea first, then diarrhea, then organ failure. You can eat 3 meals daily and still starve to death. Fat is essential. Fat provides essential fatty acids your body cannot manufacture, enables absorption of vitamins A, D, E, and K, provides sustained energy without blood sugar spikes, makes food actually taste like food. But here's the problem with fat in survival contexts. Most fats betray you. Butter goes rancid within days without refrigeration. Vegetable oils oxidize into toxic sludge. Animal fats support bacterial growth without proper rendering. Rancid fats do not just taste bad, they are full of free radicals, unstable molecules damaging your cells, promoting inflammation. In survival situations without medical care, consuming poison with every meal is catastrophic. Solution: ghee, clarified butter rendered over low heat until water evaporates and milk solids separate. What remains is pure butter fat. The parts of butter that spoil are water and milk solids. Remove them. Remove the problem. Ghee is shelf-stable at room temperature for years unopened. Months after opening without refrigeration. Smoke point of 480 Nordi. Higher than almost any cooking fat. Fry, saute, deep fry without breakdown into toxic compounds. Calorie density, 9 calories per gram. Pure concentrated energy. One spoonful transforms survival mush into something tasting like civilization. Richness, flavor, satisfaction. A reminder of what eating used to feel like. Stock 10 to 12 jars per person annually. Cool, dark storage. When everyone else slowly dies of fat deficiency, wondering why they feel worse despite having protein, you are thriving on liquid gold. Fat handled, calories handled. But there is a gap in every prepper's pantry, killing slowly and horribly, and most do not even know it exists. The bunker farm. Those canned vegetables stacked floor to ceiling in your basement. Dead food, literally. Canning requires extreme heat to kill bacteria. That is what makes it shelf stable for years. It also destroys most vitamins, particularly vitamin C. Your canned peas have essentially zero. Your green beans have negligible amounts. That corn you are so proud of stockpiling, nutritionally hollow compared to fresh produce. Without vitamin C, you get scurvy. Scurvy sounds like a historical footnote, something that happened to pirates, a solved problem. It is not. Scurvy is what happens to any human going long enough without fresh nutrients. 4 to 6 weeks of complete vitamin C deprivation before symptoms begin. First, gums swell and bleed. Teeth loosen as collagen breaks down. Skin develops spots as capillaries rupture. Old wounds healed years ago reopen as scar tissue dissolves. Joints ache constantly. Advanced stages bring internal bleeding, organ failure, death. In a grid-down scenario, scurvy will kill more people than violence. How do you grow fresh vegetables without soil, sunlight, or electricity? Sprouting seeds, alfalfa, broccoli, radish, mung beans. In dry form, nutrients are locked dormant. Add water and enzymes activate. The seed wakes up. Vitamin C content does not just increase, it explodes by a factor of 20 to 30. A small handful of sprouts contains more vitamin C than a glass of orange juice. Living, fresh, crunchy vegetables created from almost nothing. You do not need soil, do not need sunlight, do not need fertilizer, only seeds, water, and a container with drainage. Grow sprouts in a dark bunker. Grow them in a closet. Grow them during nuclear winter when nothing else survives outside. Process: soak seeds overnight. Drain. Rinse twice daily. 3 to 5 days later, fresh vegetables ready to eat. Stockpile protocol: 2 to 3 kg of mixed sprouting seeds. Enough for fresh greens for a year. Store cool and dry in airtight containers. They are tiny, lightweight. The difference between getting scurvy and staying healthy. But nutrition only matters if your brain functions well enough to make good decisions. There is a legal drug, meaning the difference between sharp thinking and fatal mistakes. The 20-year stimulant. Coffee is not a luxury. It is a performance-enhancing drug society normalized because it tastes good. Caffeine improves alertness, reaction time, cognitive function, memory recall, physical endurance by reducing perceived exertion. It makes hard tasks feel easier, long tasks feel shorter. In survival situations where every decision matters, being sharper and faster is not optional. It is a measurable advantage keeping you alive when others make exhaustion-induced errors. Problem: roasted coffee goes stale fast. Those beans in your pantry, they are oxidizing right now. Oils on roasted beans break down, turning rancid and bitter. Within 6 months, noticeably degraded. Within a year, basically worthless. In long-term collapse, your coffee supply fails first, unless you know the trick. Green coffee beans. Harvested beans are not brown. They are green, hard as rocks, smelling like grass. In this raw state, oils inside remain protected within cell walls. Nothing oxidizing, nothing degrading, nothing going stale. Properly stored in airtight containers, green beans last 20 years, maybe longer. When you need that cognitive edge, and you will, roast them fresh on demand. Put green beans in a dry pan, medium heat, stir constantly. Within 10 minutes, they crack and pop like tiny fireworks, transforming from green to brown. Pull off heat when they reach your preferred color. Freshest coffee on the planet. And here is a bonus most people do not consider: the smell. Roasting coffee fills your space with warm, rich aroma. The smell of normal life, lazy Sunday mornings, civilization. In a world smelling like smoke and sweat and fear, that coffee aroma is a psychological reset for your entire group. 20 lbs minimum. Airtight containers, cool, dark storage. In a post-collapse barter economy, fresh roasted coffee commands higher prices than silver. Everyone wants it. Nobody else has it. But coffee handles your brain. The next item handles everything else. And I mean everything. The legal white powder, baking soda, sodium bicarbonate. That boring white powder absorbing refrigerator odor since the previous administration. If you only see this as a baking ingredient, you are catastrophically underestimating one of the most versatile chemicals available. Baking soda is the Swiss Army knife of the chemical world. pH neutralizer. Half a teaspoon in water neutralizes stomach acid, heartburn, acid reflux, digestive distress handled for pennies. Dentist replacement. Mildly abrasive for cleaning teeth. Alkaline enough to neutralize cavity-causing acids. Not pleasant, but functional. In a world without dentists, functionality matters more than flavor. Cleaning agent, blood, grease, grime, baking soda paste cuts through everything. Functional gear, wearable clothes, livable spaces. Fire suppression, grease fire in your makeshift kitchen. Never throw water, that makes it worse. Throw baking soda, heat decomposes it into carbon dioxide, smothering flames. Soap production, mix with fats for crude but effective soap. Hygiene prevents disease. Disease kills more survivors than combat. Deodorizer, treats body odor, keeps shelters livable, neutralizes waste disposal smells. Stock 30 lbs in airtight buckets. Remove from cardboard immediately. It absorbs moisture and odors. Sealed containers preserve chemical activity indefinitely. You will reach for this powder 100 times for 100 reasons. Now, everything so far assumes you are thinking clearly, but what happens when your brain crashes at the worst possible moment? The pocket-sized brain reboot. This one does not go in the pantry. It goes on your body, in your pocket, your vest. Somewhere you reach in 3 seconds without thinking. Hard candy. Your brain consumes 20% of your calories. It runs exclusively on glucose. Unlike muscles burning fat for fuel, your brain demands glucose constantly. When blood sugar drops too low, your brain malfunctions. This is hypoglycemia happening faster than most people realize. Skip a couple meals, perform hard physical labor, experience sustained high stress. Combine any two factors. Blood sugar can crash within hours. Symptoms: shaking hands, blurred vision, mental confusion, poor judgment, physical weakness, loss of coordination. Severe cases bring unconsciousness. In survival situations, any single symptom can kill you. Cannot shoot accurately with shaking hands. Cannot navigate with blurred vision. Cannot make life or death decisions with a foggy brain. Hard candy is pure sucrose. Dissolves in your mouth, absorbs directly through mucous membranes into the bloodstream, bypassing digestion entirely. No waiting for stomach processing. Within 2 to 3 minutes, blood sugar stabilizes. Hands stop shaking, vision clears, thoughts become coherent. You function again. This is why paramedics carry glucose tablets. Same principle, fancier packaging. Secondary use: psychological first aid. Trauma and shock trap people in fight or flight. Unable to process information, unable to make rational decisions, disconnected from the present. Something sweet, tasting like comfort, childhood safety, acts as a psychological anchor, a physical action they can take, a taste activating positive memories, a signal that maybe immediate danger has passed. Stock 10 lbs. Keep wrappers intact. Store cool and dry to prevent melting into a useless, sticky mass. Carry some on your body, always, no exceptions. Your brain is your most important survival tool. Never let it run on empty. But what about food sources you do not need to stockpile at all? Resources sitting everywhere in plain sight, completely ignored. The free calories nobody wants. You walk past them every autumn. Parks, sidewalks, suburban yards, scattered across trails and tumbling down hillsides. Acorns, Most people see squirrel food, gutter debris, nuisance objects crunching underfoot. Those people will starve, surrounded by abundance. Acorns are among the most plentiful caloric resources in temperate climates worldwide. A single mature oak produces thousands annually. Some estimates put productive trees at tens of thousands. Urban and suburban environments have oaks everywhere. Free food literally carpets the ground each fall, rich in carbohydrates and healthy fats with decent protein. Nutritionally similar to wheat or oats, indigenous peoples across continents relied on acorns as a dietary staple for millennia. So why does not everyone eat them? Tannins. Tannic acid makes raw acorns incredibly bitter. So bitter your mouth rebels against swallowing. More importantly, in significant quantities, tannins damage kidneys. You cannot eat them raw like trail mix. But here's the crucial thing. Tannins are water-soluble. Soak crushed acorns in water, and tannins leach into the liquid. Change water periodically as it turns brown. Eventually, what remains is sweet, nutty, completely safe to eat. Process. Collect acorns in the fall after they drop. Dry thoroughly. Remove shells and caps. Crush or grind nut meat. Soak in water for hours or days, changing water when it browns. When water stays clear and bitterness disappears, you are done. What you have is acorn meal. Dry further and grind into flour. Cook into porridge. Add to soups and stews. Versatile, nutritious, free. This is nature's backup plan. When your stockpiled wheat runs out, when your rice is gone, when grocery stores are looted to bare shelves, oak trees still stand, still produce, still drop free food on the ground, still ignored by everyone who does not know the secret. Learn to identify oak trees now. Practice the leaching process before you need it. Develop the skill while failure has no consequences. The person feeding themselves from the forest survives when everyone else's supplies run out. Speaking of things you will need in serious quantities, there is a mineral so critical that running out means death within weeks. The mineral you cannot live without. Those tiny shaker bottles of table salt, completely inadequate, almost useless for serious survival. A few ounces in a cardboard cylinder is designed for lightly seasoning a single meal. That is not what you need. You need pounds, industrial quantities. First and most obviously, food preservation. Hunt a deer in a world without refrigeration, and you have an immediate problem. That meat rots within days. All those calories, protein, precious fat, spoiled and wasted, feeding bacteria instead of your family unless you preserve it. Salt draws moisture from tissue through osmosis. It creates an environment where bacteria cannot survive. This isn't modern technology. Humans kept meat edible this way for thousands of years before electricity. But curing a whole deer requires pounds, not tablespoons. If your entire salt supply is a few tiny shakers, you preserve a tiny fraction. The rest rots while you watch. Second, electrolytes. Sodium chloride is the primary electrolyte for nerve function. Nerves communicate through electrical signals, requiring sodium ions moving across cell membranes. Without adequate sodium, your nervous system misfires. Symptoms progress from annoying to fatal. Muscle cramps, mental confusion, generalized weakness, eventually cardiac arrhythmia. Your heart is a muscle controlled by electrical signals needing sodium for proper rhythm. Hard physical labor in hot conditions, and in a post-grid world, you will work hard, means losing sodium through sweat, significant amounts. Without replacement, you die, not eventually, relatively quickly. Solution: feed stores. 50 lb salt blocks meant for horses and cattle. Pure sodium chloride. Incredibly cheap. Chip off what you need. Yes, they are marketed for animals. No, there is no chemical difference. Salt is salt. Sodium chloride is sodium chloride. The only distinction is packaging and markup. Stock 2 blocks, 100 lbs total. Wrap in heavy plastic, preventing moisture absorption. Salt is hygroscopic. It absorbs water from the air. Exposed blocks slowly dissolve in humidity. Kept dry, salt outlasts civilization. When others watch their meat spoil because they never considered preservation, you are eating cured venison all winter. But even with all these calories, preservation, and nutrients, There is one final item transforming mere survival into something resembling life. And it is alive. The living currency, my number one secret. The single most important thing I stockpile: yeast, flour, water, and salt make a hard cracker. Dense, joyless, technically edible. Add yeast and you have bread. Soft bread, rising bread. Bread smelling like heaven coming out of a makeshift oven. Bread representing normalcy, comfort, civilization. Bread making you feel human when everything tries reducing you to an animal. But the biological potential of Saccharomyces cerevisiae extends far beyond baking. With oxygen, yeast consumes sugar and multiplies, producing carbon dioxide. This is leavening. Gas creates texture in dough. Without oxygen, yeast switches metabolic pathways. It still consumes sugar but produces ethanol instead of multiplying. This is fermentation. The process giving us wine, beer, spirits. In a post-collapse world, alcohol is not just recreational. Alcohol is a disinfectant. Sterilize wounds, clean medical instruments, sanitize containers and food prep surfaces. Alcohol is a solvent. Extract medicinal compounds from plants into tinctures. Herbal medicine becomes possible when you can concentrate active ingredients. Alcohol is fuel. In high concentrations, it burns cleanly. Lamps, fire starting, emergency heating. Alcohol is a painkiller. When anesthesia does not exist, when prescription drugs are a memory, a stiff drink is significantly better than nothing for someone facing surgery. Alcohol is a universal trade good. People always want to forget their troubles, especially in desperate times. A reliable alcohol source makes you valuable to everyone. Control yeast, and you are simultaneously the village baker, pharmacist, and distiller. Essential, irreplaceable. Here is the catch making this tricky. Yeast is alive. Living things die. Heat above 120 degrees damages cells. Above 140, completely dead. You cannot leave yeast on a shelf in a hot garage expecting it to work later. Even in ideal cool conditions, viability slowly declines. Individual cells exhaust internal energy reserves, dying one by one. Typical active dry yeast has a shelf life of about 2 years at room temperature. My protocol: vacuum-sealed bricks stored in a deep freezer where cold pauses the biological clock. Frozen storage keeps yeast viable for many years, possibly indefinitely. Grid goes down, bricks move immediately to the coolest basement location, used strategically, sparingly. Portions saved creating sourdough starter cultures, propagating more yeast indefinitely. Because here is the beautiful secret. Yeast self-replicates. Given sugar, water, and time, it makes more of itself. A single packet managed correctly becomes an infinite supply. The key is never using it all, always maintaining a living culture. Guard your yeast like treasure. Protect it from heat, contamination, and people who do not understand its value. In the new world, yeast might literally become the currency that matters most. Reality check. Pause. 11 items. 11 force multipliers. 11 ways shifting odds in your favor. But nothing guarantees survival. Every solution is temporary. Every tool eventually fails. Every stockpile depletes. Collapse is not a problem to solve. It is a condition to endure. Human desperation remains the ultimate wildcard. Your neighbors, your community, strangers passing through, experiencing the same crisis. Scared, hungry, watching families suffer. Some remain decent throughout, some do not. Some surprise you with generosity. Others surprise you with how quickly they abandon every moral principle they claimed. You cannot predict who breaks or when. Cannot prepare for every human variable. All 11 items perfectly stored. Ideal quantities. You can still die from bad luck, bad timing, or bad people. What these items provide is resilience. More tools, more options, more flexibility, higher probability of bending instead of breaking when chaos arrives. That is all preparation can ever do. Shift percentages in your favor. Survivors are not necessarily people with the biggest stockpiles. They are the ones staying adaptable, keeping learning, maintaining humanity while everything burns. Watching this video puts you ahead. You are thinking, preparing, not assuming civilization is permanent. That mindset outweighs any stockpile. Final punch. 11 items, non-standard, all transformative. Popcorn for psychological volume, Jello for emergency rehydration, eggshells for invisible supplements, ghee for fat that will not betray you, sprouting seeds for living vitamins, green coffee for decades of focus, baking soda for everything else, hard candy for brain reboots, acorns for free calories everyone ignores, salt blocks for preservation and electrolytes, yeast for bread, alcohol, and civilization itself. This is not hoarding. It is understanding the chemistry of survival when safety nets vanish. While everyone else chokes down flavorless rations, watches their teeth fall out, slowly loses their minds from monotony, you are eating popcorn by the fire, drinking fresh roasted coffee, baking actual bread. That is not surviving. That is living. Maintaining humanity when everything conspires to strip it away. One warning: visibility creates vulnerability. The moment people discover what you have, what you understand, what you provide, you transform from neighbor into target. Knowledge is power. Visible knowledge is liability. Hide your treasures, guard your secrets, share wisely, strategically, or not at all. Adapt to whatever comes. Fight for what matters. Use the chaos while others flounder or become part of the landscape. Your choice. Do not take too long making it. One question before you go. What is your guilty pleasure prep? The item with zero nutritional value but maximum mental value. The thing with absolutely no logical place in a bug-out bag, but utterly essential for keeping you sane. Drop it in the comments. Keep your powder dry. If this story changed the way you look at the items in your pantry or the potential of the world around you, please subscribe and like the channel. We are unearthing the survival secrets and the history they tried to bury. Plant the seeds for your future. The next treasure chest of knowledge will open soon.